Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sophia Lucia Parola with Garden State Film Festival. This year, from March 21st through March 24th, you can come to the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival. We have over 200 films this year coming from 14 different countries, all different types of films, various subjects. We have shorts, features, pilots, animations, music videos. It is such an amazing lineup once again, and you can check them out in Asbury Park, New Jersey and Cranford, New Jersey. Also tons of events, but check that all out on our website. We are here with talking about this short film called CHOMP. Here to talk with me is the directors, writer, star, composer. We got amazing people in this room. Hello, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on your acceptance.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's a pleasure, truly my pleasure. I'm really excited to talk about Chomp. I love this film. It's really, really cool. I'm excited for Garden State Film Festival to have it this year. But before we get into talking about it, can you guys introduce yourself and your titles in the film for me and the audience?
Sure. I'm Suki Rose. I'm the co-director and co-writer along with Cricket Arison of the film Chomp. And we're so happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Woo, thank you.
And I'm Cricket Arison, co-writer and director, and I'm also in the film.
Last but not least.
I'm Josh Ascalon. I'm the sound designer and composer for the film. Yeah.
Ooh, very cool. Thank you again. So first off, either Suki Rose or Cricket, whoever wants to hit, or Josh, if any of you can tell us what's Chomp about for anyone before they see the film. What will they see?
You go, Suki.
Okay, you take this one.
Okay. This is the co-directing process. Chomp is a film about a very awkward, sort of unformed person who comes in as an intern at a TV news station and gets very obsessed with one of the very polished, beautiful anchors. And that obsession brings about a horrifying transformation in this intern.
Oh, I love that synopsis. And I love, we're not giving anything away. You got to watch it. It's super unpredictable. I love it. What was inspiration for this story, and what did that like writing relationship kind of look like when you were writing Chomp?
So the inspiration initially, I used to work in news, so it's autobiographical in that sense. And I was watching a lot of news bloopers during the pandemic, and it was a weird, lonely time. And I was just lying in bed one night, and I was like, what if a news anchor got bit? And from there, I think Suki and I spent a long time, and you can talk about this part, but just sort of mining the parts of ourselves that were sort of the most uncomfortable or awkward. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Suki.
Yeah. When Cricket sent me Chomp, like the pitch for it, she was like, "Hey, is this something?" And because it's kind of what we do a lot in our projects that we're working on individually and together, it'll often just be like, "Is this something?" And most of the time the answer is like, not yet, but it like has something in it that we can like kind of tease out. And so when she sent it to me, I was like, this is very interesting. It's very dynamic to have the type of transformation we show in the short happen on the backdrop of the news station. So I got really excited, and I was like, this is really cool. I think, we worked through it a bit, and when the time came, Cricket was like, would you be interested in co-directing this with me? Because I think Cricket undersold it when she was like, I'm in the film. Cricket stars in the film as the intern. And like when we started to dig in the writing process for the short, and now we have a finished feature script for this as well. It really, what Cricket's saying about mining the worst things about yourself and like the biggest cringe you're capable of. It's kind of like, if you've ever, gone to a party and come home afterwards and been like, why did I say that? Why did I act that way? What is my problem? It's kind of like pulling all those things out and putting them into one person and one character, and then forcing a group of other characters to like deal with that person. So it's kind of like an exorcism, you know, in a way.
Wow, that sounds so scary. Like, but I imagine that you really come up with the best things from the truth, and so funny and relatable when you just talk about that truth. But that's like so scary. It's so cool how how your writing process works. Josh, how
Mm.
did you get involved in becoming the composer and sound engineer on Chomp? And have you worked with these two before?
Yeah, I've worked with both of them a number of times on different projects. I think, I think it's funny the way, those who have not seen the film yet, and hopefully eventually do, I think, like, first of all, Cricket calling it like autobiographical, I think is hilarious because there's some aspects of it, but clearly we're keeping it, coy as to what this sort of transformation is, but it's extreme. Let's just say that. I think that's not giving too much away. I think we kind of all like have a very like a similar sensibility in that, from my perspective in sound, like I work with a lot of dissonance and I work with a lot of like kind of like older modular stuff that's like very kind of like sounds a very particular way, and not like traditional sort of sound score. And again, to reiterate, like I think the dissonance that I tend to like to be involved in musically and sound wise, and I think that there's also like a sense of humor for me in that dissonance, and I think that I think they have that same like sensibility of like kind of some, just because it's crazy or wild or scary or whatever, like completely crazy, it could still have a bit of a sense of humor, even if it's a little tongue in cheek, even if it's not like a joke. It's not taking, I think it's probably best explained like, I think we all don't take ourselves too seriously, but we do what we do seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like that's the way to go.
Mhm.
The sound in this is so specific and complex. I feel like it's a horror comedy, but it's also has to do with that newsroom. And like, so what was Suki Rose and Cricket? Did you send a bunch of like inspiration to Josh? Like, what did it kind of look like finding the sound? And yeah, like what's that like?
We had a pretty specific vision for it because this short is entirely, the perspective of the short is told entirely through 3 newsroom cameras. We shot with 3 cameras. They're vintage camcorders, which gives everything a very specific texture. And when it came to the sound, we really wanted that texture to be reflected in the sound in a similar way as to the cameras and the way it's shot. And like, we really, specifically, we were like, it isn't a score. It's just kind of, and when Josh is saying this thing about dissonance and also humor in dissonance is like a very sharp assessment of a lot of what Cricket and I are trying to do. Because it's like there is always going to be humor in the darkness and the stuff that we make. So it's, I don't know, when we talked to Josh, it was mostly like, we were talking a little bit about like diegetic sounds that would already exist in a news station, like the sound that happens when you unplug a cable and like there's like a little pop on an amp or something like that. So we had a couple of specific directional notes that we started out with there.
And can I shout out Josh a little bit more because like we left a lot of room for sound in this piece. I started in radio and I am a much more auditory than I am a visual person. And so I think the challenge of this, like there's a lot of kills that happen off screen and it was written to sort of be like, okay, Josh, now you have to make the most horrifying thing that you've ever heard. And don't worry, like all of the tension of this piece relies on you and the sound because we're like literally looking at nothing. Like, okay, go, So I'm just really grateful that we were able to work together because it could have been, I really think the sound is one of the most important parts of this piece for sure.
Well, I thank you very much for those kind words, but I at the same time, I thank you guys for allowing me a platform to do this stupid things I like to do anyway. So I think that's why we work well together, because the
Oh, yeah.
ideas we have are like kind of just what I would do in my spare time anyway.
Josh,
but
have you ever? Sorry.
Yep. No, but going back to what Suki said, because it's like, yeah. So we started like kind of experimenting with like some of the sounds that she's talking about, like static from a TV and like cables, like like static, like ground hums and stuff like that. And I think like as as the movie, the drama of the movie heightens, and I think like all the things that going back to what she was saying, Suki and Krieger were saying about all the worst things about themselves. Well, that portrays itself in a very heightened way. So I kind of take a lot of those same sounds and do replicate them in a very heightened way. And that kind of leads to the dissonance that I think is we're all talking about.
Have you ever done sound design or composed something like? Have you ever done this genre before, or a project like this before? Or was this very new?
Almost exclusively what I do.
Very interesting.
So Josh, I worked with Josh on my first short film in 2019, which stars Cricket as well as our dear friend and collaborator Kate, who's also in CHOMP, who I tend to write for the two of them when I have an idea that works for them. I like their dynamic on screen a lot. And so Josh worked on that, and it was not a similar situation, but a situation where we're doing a lot of tense storytelling within the sound. So it's at least the projects that I tend to work on with Josh tend to be like in this wheelhouse.
Wow. Speaking of the cast, who was phenomenal. I mean, Kate was amazing. I had the pleasure of seeing Demorge on another project, Magic Socket, that I was talking to Suki Rose about. He's so amazing. And Cricket, I mean, your character, I feel like it was probably I mean, like, I can't even imagine playing a character like this and what it took to just let go without giving anything away. Have you ever played a character like this before, and what did it take for you to pull it off?
I do. I mean, my favorite things to do as an actor are creatures and monsters. And I include women in that, like really scary, toxic femininity women characters. But this is probably one of the more extreme ones that I've done. And it was a process. I'm really grateful that Suki was there to help me figure out the physicality a lot. That's usually where I like to start when I'm doing a role, is I sort of start by finding the body from the outside, and then I work my way in. But this one, I mean, as we were saying, we drew a lot from sort of the parts of ourselves that are difficult to sit with. So I was thinking a lot about either times that I feel like I was awkward, but also times when I've been violent, or the times when like I look back on it and I'm like, the cruelty of the system benefited me in that moment. So like, how can I take that and acknowledge it and then turn it into this monster? So by the end of the filming process, I was like, oh my God, does anyone like me? Like, am I horrible? Like, Suki had to do a lot of like emotional support afterwards for me to be like,
you really like
all I am.
You really went into it. And I think it was funny because it's like, we definitely ruined your hair. Like Cricket's hair looks so bad in the short. It's the wrong color. It's like box dye. It's really bad. And I felt like the second we dyed your hair, and then we were doing a lot of body work, trying to find the character in the body, like you're talking about. And we were just going to the park across the street from your apartment. And just like, I have like endless video of like, okay, we're going to tape all this, try putting the energy in your hands, try putting it in your shoulders, like lead with it, like just like trying stuff. And it really, by the end of it, Cricket really did, I feel like it was like a week or two of struggle to like kind of settle back into yourself after being like, wow, I really, like, you really like went there. And I think you see it on the screen. I mean, it was, and it's there. The rehearsal process with this was like one of the most fun things. Also, it's the most stunts heavy piece I think either of us have done. So working through all of those stunts with all of the incredible performers who play newsroom employees who just get absolutely demolished. Like, we really had to pull in people who we trusted, who would be comfortable kind of like, getting into this physicality. But yeah.
I think the first thing that Cricket and I worked on together, or I mean, it was before we had ever known each other, but I worked on a film. Well, we worked on a film called Give Me Pity, and which is a very, similar lead dissonant, sort of over the top film. And Cricket, the first time I had seen her on screen was her playing a mime, and and just the physicality of what she did in this, what it was probably like a 5 or 6 minute scene. She was just miming basically what a monologue was happening. And it was pretty much just the most like physically interesting and strange thing I've ever seen. And then I found out I was like, what? I was like, who the hell is this? And apparently it was in one take, right? It was all improvised, and I was just like, or at least it was all improvised. Yeah. Like it's very strange. It's like it's like, so when I saw your performance in Chomp, it was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's like
kind of rally.
That's like what that clearly that's that to me from what I know Cricket, and that's clearly her wheelhouse, is very physical.
I like to say Cricket is like a human special effect.
Oh, you guys.
So amazing. I mean, I could tell you can just completely I was literally watching it, and like, I was just like, I wish I can just be unhinged and let go like this. Like, I can't even imagine. That's what I wish to do.
Honestly, there's advantages and disadvantages to having that assistant.
It's really absolutely crazy, I think is.
But thank you. That's very kind.
Oh my gosh. You talked about Cricket. You mentioned how Suki had to give you like some of that emotional support. What else? What was like that secret sauce when it came to co-directing Chomp? What was really crucial when telling this story and working together, Cricket and Suki?
You want to start, Suki?
Sure. I think Cricket and I both have been working in the industry and in creative collaborations for like a long time. And I think we found that we both weren't exactly doing what we wanted to do in our larger creative collaborations. And I think we kind of recognized this thing in each other where it's like, we want to be doing something different. I think we can support each other. I think we can make this happen. And so I think we have a very like tender way of approaching how we collaborate, in the sense that it's like, for our goal, I think I can speak, I can say this, I think, but like our goal is to uplift each other. And like in all the work that I do, I kind of try to have like a flat hierarchy. Like, I'm not kind of like, it's not about ego. It's not about me. It's about the work. And when I work on something and a bunch of people are excited about our film, that's the number one success point for me. I'm just like, what we're making is all of ours. So to be able to work like truly collaboratively as a director, I mean, it's honestly like such a gift to be two people. It's amazing to be two people. So I feel like trying to uplift each other and the rest of the people who are like so graciously giving us their time and energy and creativity is like that's what I think the special sauce is.
Yeah. Well put. I don't have anything to add to that. That was perfect. Yes.
Is there anything you can say, Cricket, about what, like, one thing that's really important when starring in something that you're also directing?
Hire Suki. And no, I mean, to be honest with you, like if pressed, I would be like, I don't think I should star in something and direct it necessarily. Like there are disadvantages to being on screen. You can't see things as fully. So I do think having a collaborator who you really trust is important. But I think it's just like, you have to be really careful with preparing ahead of time. You need extra pre-production, which I think can benefit a piece to have really been able to see it ahead of time. And you do have a shorthand, then you really know the piece inside out. So I think it's just like a lot of prep, somebody you really trust, and going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm selfishly going over because I'm really enjoying this conversation. Josh, I want to ask you, what's one piece of advice that you can give any other sound engineers or anyone who wants to get into your field when it's important creating the sound for a film, which is so important?
As far as sound design, I mean, obviously the technical tools are very important, and then it's just, I think, ugh, you just learn. There's ways to tell a story, like even beyond the composing, which is like I do both often, so it's hard to, and I kind of blur the lines often. But I do a lot of stuff where I just sound design, and I think that you kind of learn that there's little stories you can tell within just the sound design itself. In something like this, like exactly what Cricket said is that there's kills happening off screen. So like they literally, someone's not actually getting killed, and we also don't see anyone getting killed. So that's entirely on you. So that's like an extreme example of like creating a story about that. But there's also subtle ways you could do it with, like, if you're in a house or an apartment, like you can just like you could tell the the viewer like what sort of neighborhood they're in by like the sort of environment that you hear around them, even if there's no hints to that or anything. If you're hearing sirens and dogs barking like crazy in street, obviously they're maybe not the best neighborhood. And if you're hearing birds and pretty things and stuff like that, like maybe they're in a nicer neighborhood. So there's just like little subtle things, I think, that you can tell better, like storytelling that you're doing as a sound designer, that I think are really important to really to be good at what you do. And also just collaboration. It's like ultimately film in general is a collaboration. So in so many ways. So even within my sound design, I collaborate. I have editors that I work with and stuff like that. So be good collaborator. Don't be a dick to people, and just do your best. And,
Right.
I think if you do your best, then you're good, and you get along with the people you like, then yeah.
Golden advice right there. I love that. I've also never heard, out of all the interviews, I'm talking as not sound designs and composers, never heard like the story you tell through sound. That's so important. And so much of that people are watching and hearing it and just subconsciously making discoveries, and that's all through that. So very, very cool. It has been a true pleasure talking to you guys. I love this film. I can't wait for Garden State Film Festival audiences to see it. Let me tell you how you can. CHOMP will be screening Saturday, March 23rd at 9 p.m. at Asbury Lanes. I know specifically that's a great block. And Asbury Lanes is a wonderful venue. Saturday night, what a perfect time to watch CHOMP. So definitely come check it out. Get your tickets at www.gsff.org/tickets. Will any of you be gracing us with your presence this year at Garden State Film Festival? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
I think I will.
Yeah, Josh will be there.
Yeah,
Go talk to Josh
repping.
about CHOMP.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's my birthday too, so
Oh my gosh, the 23rd?
Cool.
Happy almost birthday. And if I see you, I will absolutely remember that and creepily yell happy birthday to you.
Well,
Thank you again.
the advantage of being, on the East Coast, while these folks are on the other side of the country. So
Very true. Well, thank you. We can't wait to see you, Josh. It has been a pleasure again talking to you all. Congratulations. And I can't wait to see more of your work. I hope you continue to submit to Garden State Film Festival.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
thanks, bye.